Yo, what's up, everybody? It's Wes here. Gonna take a ride out on this beautiful day, and we're gonna take a ride over to Phillipsburg to go see Joan at Life Choices and give you guys a little tour of the amazing operations they got running over there. So with that being said, let's go. So while we're taking our little drive here, let's give a little background on Life Choices. So Life Choices was founded by Joan Fasanello in 1999 and opened her facilities in 2000. Currently, she has 2 locations open to the public, the Women's Health Center and the Holy Family Center. She's currently working on her latest project, which we're pulling up to right here, which is St. Anne's Center. This is the home of Grandma's house. Once I got there, went inside, Joan was waiting for me, sat down for an interview, and started with, Joan, what is the mission of Life Choices?
The mission of Life Choices is to reach women and ultimately children with very real, ongoing help in the most kind, compassionate way possible.
So I continued on asking Joan about her 2 other facilities that are currently running today, the Women's Health Center and the Holy Family Center. So here Joan describes the process of moving from one facility to the other with these women and children and families.
So we might meet someone for the first time in our health center. Maybe a woman comes through pregnancy testing for ultrasound. But when we're speaking to her and responding to her worries and fears, we're promising ongoing help. So the second office, Holy Family Center, is where we keep that promise with just material assistance and support, peer mentoring. We have a scholarship program. We have tutoring for the babies if they're struggling in school, as well as the moms or dads if they're trying to go back to school or learn a new skill. We'll connect them with someone who's got expertise in that field and help them to succeed. So we're very pro-life because we believe each human is certainly a sacred, the human life is sacred, gift from God, but we go beyond what might be the stereotypical thought of what pro-life work is, in that we believe that the lives of the parents are sacred to God too, and then we want to help the whole family to thrive, not just for the baby to be born. So we're listening to women that come to us for help, we're hearing what their struggles are, and our programs are geared to meet those needs that they've expressed. So it's very grassroots, and the mission came up really from listening to women in need.
So I continued on asking Joan about these women and the impact this facility has for them and the counseling services that they offer. So here's what she had to say.
A lot of times the women don't need really too much help in that way. I think people don't realize, if a woman's faced with an unplanned pregnancy, she's overwhelmed with maybe the feeling of abandonment or fear for how she's going to provide for the child or how she's going to finish school. And a lot of times, all she really needs is someone to say, we'll help you. We believe that it's possible, She just needs a little encouragement. Sometimes, maybe a little money to help with the rent. But a lot of times, it really is just about being a little bit of a cheerleader. Everybody in the culture is saying, you can't do it, abortion's the only answer, no one will help you. And the fear just builds and builds. Fear and hormones mixed together are really just a deadly combination. So when she comes and other women are saying, hey, I've been through this kind of thing. I know how you feel. I really do. They're not judgmental. They're just offering very solid help and resources, even if it's, referring to someone in the community. That sometimes is all it takes to get her on track. And then she leaves our office with hope.
Hope is the start. But how do you expand on this hope? So here Joan explains the idea behind St. Anne's Center.
After Life Choices had been in existence for 15 years, and we had responded to a lot of the problems that women presented, we noticed that women were still talking about 2 things: the need for good childcare, safe childcare that was in alternate hours, and also a lot of our women were struggling with homelessness, and there was very few places to refer them to, nothing within an hour's drive. And so if I had a woman who was pregnant and had nowhere to live, sometimes she really wants to have the baby, it's her choice that she wants to carry to term, but her parents are saying, you can't live here if you're going to have the baby. Or her boyfriend left and now she can't afford the rent, things like that. To refer them to a program an hour away was really a hardship for them. They were afraid. Women would say to me, now I need I have to leave all my friends, leave my school, leave my job. Just the list went
Their
on.
support
It was
system.
overwhelming. So we decided that, we wanted to respond to those needs that were still coming up. And we kept noticing this empty convent here in the neighborhood. And so we approached the pastor and asked if we could maybe work together. And we explained what we'd like to do here. And he was extremely supportive. And he talked to his committees and parishioners. And everyone loved the idea. And it just took off like that.
And off it's gone. The before and after is dramatic, to say the least. Joan now explains how she's getting it done.
Literally hundreds of people volunteering their time to paint, to clean, to bring their particular skills to work. So we've been able to stretch the money that was raised much further than expected. Of course, the building also needed more work than was originally expected, but we've seen great progress, and it's absolutely beautiful. We started out calling the program Grandma's House. The idea was that we wanted to provide a home reminiscent of Grandma. And for me and for most of us, Grandma was a person who, went to visit her, you knew she loved you. You met unconditional love there. But also, Grandma was a person who didn't put up with any nonsense. There's always rules. You were always encouraged to do better. She had expectation for you. So that was the tone we want to set with the program. But after a while, some of our bigger donors were saying, people need to know that people of faith care about them and act accordingly. In this culture, they felt that was important. So after, some that kept coming up, we decided that we would name it St. Anne's Center after the grandmother of Jesus. So basically, it's still Grandma's house. And that's going to be still the very positive tone, the encouragement, the love that people find when they're here. That's very important to us.
So where do we go next?
What we really need to do now is, we're trying to make sure that we're equipped, that we have the furniture that people that live here will need. We need things, technology for the kids and toys and stimulating things for the daycare center. And we need startup salaries. So we're working to raise the funds for the startup salaries. Our goal is to have $100,000 on hand. And a donor recently gave us $50,000.
Nice.
So we're well on our way. I would say at this point we already have $70,000. So we're tying up bills with the contractors, and we're going to see exactly where we are financially as we wait for the state to come out and do inspections, and then reports are filed, and then the next round. So the timing there, it's hard to predict, but I would say that it will be within a few months.
A few months and St. Anne's Center can be open. How exciting. So Joan has an application in today. What does she need to move this forward?
So this community, we know that 80% of the children are growing up under the poverty level. And, I noticed recently, because I have grandkids now, little grandkids, and I see the kind of stimulation they get at home, the kind of encouragement they get from having two parents that, are teaching them, reading to them, letting them play with computers and all kinds of equipment. And then I'm interacting with children in the community, and it really brought home to me how there's such disparity. I don't know how kids that come from single family, poor home can compete. So seeing that disparity, we really want to do something. We want to address that. We really want to make lasting change. We don't want to keep that cycle of poverty going. So, been working with the school that we share the campus here with, St. Philip and St. James School. And that school is unique in that it takes an exceptional number of students who can't afford to pay the tuition. People would think, it will bankrupt the school. In an age when many Catholic schools are closing, you would think that the pastor would be overly concerned about that. But instead, he's taking a risk of generosity and allowing children to come that the parents can't afford. And what we would like to do is we'll have the daycare, and we want it to be one that's very stimulating for these kids, not simply housing them, keeping them safe, but, computer equipment, learning toys, all kinds of the best educational things, kind of combining maybe some educational theory, but all about really the stimulation that comes through being exposed to other things. And then those kids are going to move on into this Catholic school system, and we want to keep that going. And I believe by the time they get to, secondary education, they're going to be doing great. They'll be able to compete with their peers in a way that we just couldn't expect of them. And
So this is all fantastic. Love the plan, love the mission. How is St. Anne's Center going to become self-sufficient and be able to have reoccurring revenue to keep the facility up and running?
So the daycare center actually will be able to accommodate 70 children according to the state regulations for the space and heat.
You have 5 classrooms?
Yes, there's 5 classrooms. So with 70 children, we believe that we can take a percentage of children who can pay even full tuition, the typical going rate in the area. And then, of course, we're going to have a lot of people who can't pay or will receive only the state's subsidy for taking care of those children. But if you just calculate, even without just doing facts and figures, daycare is a very profitable business. So with some paid, we believe that income will make the building sustainable. And we also have churches who are pledging a donation every month, different groups, even families that want to make that. They want to kind of... we call it a lease for life, where they'll donate on a regular basis for the room. But I believe between the tuition and then also those donors, we'll be able to make everything sustainable. And the beauty of that is we take paid students, and we have a hospital nearby, we have schools nearby, we have different, restaurants and that kind of thing. But those children coming from more affluent homes will also add to the stimulation for the children that are, a little bit more underprivileged. And I think that's absolutely beautiful too, because too often we're all divided. Culturally, we're divided by our socioeconomic background, and this is going to be another way that we're just bringing people together. A lot of people have told me they want to switch their children to our daycare. They already use daycare services somewhere else. So I thought, well, if you're happy with your daycare, why would you consider it? They surprised me by telling me, but such a high percentage of our earnings go to daycare. We would love to know that money's used to help other people. So I want to bring my kids there just for that reason.
So as we conclude, I have a little clip here from Joan about, it's an analogy between her works and an old church and how it was built by immigrants. I thought it was a really interesting analogy, and I'm going to finish off this whole video with just the audio from that clip while I show you some pictures of the facility and the surrounding areas around Phillipsburg and St. Anne's Center. So thank you guys for watching, and enjoy this last little clip from Joan.
Recently, this just really hit me, beautifully so. I was visiting an old church, and I thought, wow, how did the immigrants do this, And I was thinking, it took how much money, how much hard work to make this gorgeous old church with people who were really, not well off, just had a passion. They wanted to make a place to worship. And as I was admiring their work and thinking what a beautiful thing that would be to be part of that would have been, it suddenly dawned on me, my goodness, we've done the same thing. And I never had thought about it before, but this Grandma's House or St. Anne's Center was a giant project. Now, the normal way to take that on would be to raise $1 million or have it in the bank and then start. But instead, we raised money and worked hard. Lots of people coming together to work. The thought that we had actually recreated, in a sense, that modern day experience that the immigrants had, overwhelming to me, beautiful. And I thought, wow, how fortunate, what a blessing for me to lead that kind of effort. I mean, this is an awesome part of my life. I really thought, when you build the church too, the house of worship is people reaching up to God in worship, when we were little kids, like the steeple with the hands, But I thought here, this is actually going to demonstrate God's love for His people. We built a place where He'll reach down and touch His people through our hands. So it's kind of the opposite, but very much the same. And I'll tell you, the thought of that was overwhelming to me. And I've been really kind of I'm just so thankful for all of the individuals that helped, the foundations that donated. It's just been an amazing journey. What an exciting thing to be part of. Beautiful. Yeah, it's absolutely, your analogy is fantastic, because you're right. You took something, I know you guys put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into this project. I know you guys have had
like you said, hundreds of volunteers. You've had Boy Scouts building the gym, Boy Scouts doing their
Yeah.
coal projects, and you've had different people come in and basically take on each dorm room at different rooms, and they make it their own, and they take the ownership of that room and make sure it gets completed.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And it's amazing how much work you
Different
put in here.
churches, maybe, I don't know, maybe 40 different Catholic churches, but people from all different religious backgrounds, different denominations, the Rotary Club, Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, Key Club, colleges, high schools. People just get an email forward to them and just show up one day. They don't even know anyone here, but they came to work. We had 80 and 90-year-old people coming to paint and help us remove the old flooring. We had 6-year-old boys working alongside them. People who never met each other before, just coming, rolling up their sleeves. It was really dirty, hard work at times too, and yet people would give up their Saturday to come and do that. And as it was going on, it was still a place of laughter. You could hear a lot of fun. So I just feel like the groundwork is set in a nice way. It's both prayerful, hard work, a lot of joy already. It just feels like a comfortable place. It's starting not to feel like a 1960s building, and instead it feels like a home.